But let's dive in. So today I really want to talk about, lead gen, but a little bit more involved than just lead generation. What I like to tell everybody is, we are deal makers. We are actually. I want to start with yesterday. I saw my wife and I were talking about, AI and the real estate agent industry, and how long do we think before AI just completely takes over real estate agents? How long before people can just do deals without the help of realtors? And it's probably cynical, but obviously, as a broker and growing a brokerage, it's stuff that we have to talk about, discuss. And then sure enough, I mean, the phones listen to you, because I get a reel on Instagram about how this dude sold his house using AI without an agent at all. It helped him price it helped him do the marketing, it helped him do flyers for open houses, it helped him get it on the MLS. Like, I assume he found, it didn't go into all the details, but I assume he found like some flat fee broker to put it in the MLS. And at the end of the day, he thinks it saved him about 3%, probably from the list side, because he probably still had to pay a buyer's agent, but it didn't really go into it too much. But it was really weird that we were talking about that, and then this reel shows up, because the phone is always listening, I promise you. And so something that we or our brokerage is a little bit different in terms of the hybrid model is, we shouldn't be just solely retail. We should be deal makers. We should be going out and finding deals for ourselves, finding deals for investors. Like that will never die. I don't believe, because investors are busy. Like, I look at Carlos, and when he's doing 3 to 5 to 7 projects a month, he doesn't have time to find deals. Like, he needs like partners. And so investors in general, I believe, will always need partners finding deals. But also, not only are we finding them deals, but we work hard to find ourselves deals, right? So growing our own wealth. And so I with the stat of 71% of all realtors not selling a house in 2025, like, that's a problem. I think that number's, I don't know if you guys have seen that graphic yet, but NAR put it out at the beginning of this year. 71% of all agents, all realtors, didn't sell a house in 2025. And I think it's a little skewed, because if you have a big team, like, if you have a listing agent who's got 20 agents under them, and they have a massive team, and none of the agents get credit for sales, and it all goes to the team leader, it might be a little skewed, but at the end of the day, it's still a large number, whatever it is. And so, a big part of what I do, or what I try to do, is we try to be deal makers. We try to go out there and create deals. We generate deals, right? And so that's kind of what I want to jump into today. So lead generation is the lifeblood of every real estate business. You can be the best negotiator, the most knowledgeable agent, have the best systems, but if you don't have consistent flow of opportunities, like, obviously none of that matters, right? And in real estate, we don't get paid for what we know, we get paid for the problems we solve. All right. And the only way to solve more problems is to meet more people who need help buying, selling, or investing in property. And the agents who build long-term, like, sustainable careers aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the ones who commit to generating opportunities every single day. Even if you're the best agent, if you're not generating consistent deal flow, none of it really matters, right? And so, basically, they're the ones who generate the most attention in their business. So lead generation isn't just a marketing activity. It's literally the engine that powers your business. And this is something that I've learned from a long time ago. Money follows attention. Money follows attention. And this is a quote that I heard a long time ago, and I don't know who said it, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but it's not your network's responsibility to remember that you're in real estate. It's your responsibility to never let them forget.
James,
Yep.
James, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you resend that to Mark? He says he hasn't received anything.
Tell him I've sent him twice. Tell him to check his spam.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So lead generation, it's not a motivation problem. It's a math problem. And one of the biggest mistakes that real estate agents make is treating their income like it's random. They hope the phone rings. They hope the referral comes in. They hope someone wants to buy or sell. But the truth is, real estate income is driven by measurable activity. And when you understand your KPIs, your key performance indicators, you can reverse engineer exactly how many conversations, appointments, and leads you need to hit your income goals. Successful agents, they don't guess, they take action, and they track. All right, so let's talk about core lead generation KPIs that every agent should know. So the first one and the most important one is conversations. A conversation is when you speak directly with a potential client about real estate. So examples like a motivated seller, an investor, talking to someone considering buying or selling, talking to a landlord about their portfolio. This is literally the most important KPI. How many meaningful conversations are you generating per day to hit your income goals? And we're going to talk about how you reverse engineer that here in a second. Number two, KPI, appointments. An appointment is someone who agrees to a listing appointment, a buyer consult, a deal analysis with an investor, motivated seller in-home meeting, right? So you're talking to a motivated seller, you actually have a meeting in the house. This means the conversation turned into a real opportunity. So second KPI is appointments. Third KPI is contracts, right? So conversations, appointments, then contracts. This is when someone agrees to move forward, right? So a listing agreement or a purchase contract. So if we're going to wholesale a deal, we put it under contract, or you're buying something for yourself, you put it under contract, an investor or buyer representation agreement, so a contract, third KPI, and then obviously closings, right? So conversations, appointments, contracts, closings. The four KPIs really you should be tracking in your business. And obviously, this is where income is realized. And so, if we want to understand the income math and we reverse engineer your income, so like, for example, how much do you know how much you want to make this year? Do you have an income goal? If you don't, you should. And with that goal in mind, what is your average closing? So in this example, we're going to do, you want to make 200 grand. Your average closing is 10 grand. You obviously need 20 closings. You need 20 closings over the month. So how does this work? So a typical agent conversion ratio, again, you don't know these numbers until you know these numbers, and you don't know these numbers until you start tracking things. And so, you might not know these numbers offhand, but this is what a typical agent conversion ratio looks like. And you could probably start basing it from this. But in the next 6 months or 12 months, you should be able to, as long as you do the activity of tracking, you should be able to look back and say, okay, well, it took me 10 conversations to get an appointment, or it took me 5, or it took me 30, whatever that number is. But then you start tracking your KPIs and you start understanding how many conversations does it take to get a closing, right? So typical agent conversion, 20 conversations is one appointment. 3 appointments equals 1 signed client. 2 signed clients equals 1 closing, right? So that's saying 50% ratio of a closing. It's probably higher than that, but again, just averages. So the math looks like 1 closing requires roughly 6 appointments and 120 conversations. Now, that number obviously could be different for you, but you have to start somewhere, in trying to reverse engineer your income. And so what does that look like? What does the activity look like? So if 1 closing requires 120 conversations, that's 2,400 annually. That's 200 per month. That's 50 per week, which equates to about 10 per day. So 10 meaningful conversations per day. And the reality is, and the problem is, that most agents have 2 or less per week. And so when we go back to that 71% number of agents who, potentially didn't close a deal last year, this is probably the main reason, right? They're not having enough meaningful conversations on a daily basis to generate the amount of income that they would like, or generate a closing in general. So first thing is first, you have to get your house in order. How do you track your KPIs? It's very simple. It's in your CRM or your database. And so, like, we have Go High Level. If you don't have a seat of Go High Level from me and you want one, you have one. Just let me know you want one. But I always hear, when I used to train at the Greater Tampa Realtors, when I was on the tech committee, we had Exact Contact, which Tracy, you still use. And so my team we did the rollout for that of Exact. And so myself and Jay Quigley, he was was he vice president then? I don't know. He became the president, whatever. So him and we were on the committee together, and we actually went around and hosted trainings for our members on Exact Contact. And we used to get this question all the time, like, what's the best CRM? What's the best, what bit? And I'm like, whatever one you can use, whatever one you will use is the best CRM. I don't care what it could be. MailChimp, it could be Zoho. There's a trillion of them. Exact, Go High Level, it doesn't matter. Whatever one that you're willing to use is the best, right? So Go High Level is very powerful. I can do text messaging through it, email marketing through it. I can build websites, landing pages. Fabian, you know how powerful it is. It's a very powerful system if you know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can farm it out. Like you can hire it out. We have people who actually do that. But it's so important to have your database ready or in a CRM and working that database and tracking your conversations. Because if you don't track, you have no idea where your business is if you're not taking meaningful actions and then tracking. So let me show you this. Let me get out of this real quick. All right, can you guys see that? I hope so. Okay. So this kind of represents, and I want you to think about your CRM as kind of like a central command, right? So your database, your CRM central command, it's like the hub of your business. This is the lifeblood of your business, right? And so think of it kind of as a funnel, right? So you're bringing motivated sellers in, your sphere of influence. So all your friends and family, neighbors, people you meet in the car line at school, whatever, like everybody you can possibly meet and get contact information for goes in here. Like everybody should go in there. Everybody everybody you've met ever should go in here. Investors, builders, right? Builders are usually looking for land. So networking with builders and say, hey, what do you like? I know right now, I'm probably going to have Carlos jump on at some point, but Carlos is looking for land. He wants to build. And so he's going to start giving me certain criteria that I'm going to pass along to you guys. So if anybody comes across it, they're also looking for commercial spaces too. So when I get all of that information, I'll pass it along, but they want to build. He wants to, I just helped him buy a lot not that long ago. He's building 4 townhomes on. And so it's a long-term play, but he's kind of become passionate about that lately. Right. And so builders, wholesalers, probate attorneys. I have a relationship with one probate attorney. I wish I had relationships with 50 of them. I've actually done mailers to probate attorneys. I've physically wrote, letters to probate attorneys saying, hey, if you get a house that has to be listed, send it to me first, because we could probably buy it and save you the headache of listing it. Hopefully, I didn't get one response. I sent out so many letters to probate attorneys and didn't get one response for them. And then I would call and try to follow up. And it was trying to get through their receptionist to get to the attorney. Trisha's an attorney. There's all these layers to get to attorneys. They're very important people. But probate attorneys, like I double closed a deal that I made 28 grand from a probate attorney. It's fantastic. So networking with probate attorneys, your social media, like anybody you can meet needs to be funneled into your database, your CRM, your central command, right? And then you're tracking everything in there. You're tracking all of your conversations, all of your meaningful conversations with them. You should have, a calendar of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it in terms of having meaningful conversations. And then from that CRM is your drips, right? So a motivated seller drip campaign. So you bring in a motivated seller and then you have a drip campaign that is constantly touching them. Your sphere of influence, like let's say your sphere of influence, you have a newsletter, an e-newsletter that goes out. Tracy has this with Exact. It does it automatically. Go High Level doesn't have it automatically, but you just have to build it and be diligent with it. And so you could have a monthly newsletter. Your investors, you could have a bi-weekly like investor opportunities where you go through, you find maybe 3 properties that look like potentially good investments and you blast your investors with it. Right. So, but you have to generate those meaningful conversations by having your central command set up, your foundation built, funneling leads into or opportunities into it, tracking everything, and then marketing to that database properly. Does that make sense? All right, let's get back to the show. So let's talk about 3 ways to generate those conversations, right? So direct to motivated seller marketing. Now, a lot of people will say like direct to seller. Direct to seller is a little bit different than direct to motivated seller. Motivated sellers are different than just regular sellers. Your database marketing, we're just talking about that. Social media marketing. Okay, we're going to talk about these. So direct to motivated seller marketing, what does that mean? What type of motivation do they maybe have? And so we're looking at pre-foreclosures, vacant houses, inherited homes, recently or potentially going through a divorce. There's actually a house here in Valrico that went on the market, nasty divorce, went off the market. I'm trying to buy it for my primary. So I actually have direct contact with the seller, which is fantastic. Hopefully we can land that as a primary, but we'll see. Tired landlords, behind on property taxes, out of state owners, expired listings. So out of state owners, absentee owners, they could be motivated. They could not, they could maybe be snowbirds and love coming down for 6 months. They don't need to sell it. So some of these, maybe, or maybe a little less motivated, but when you start stacking these motivations, and I'll talk about that here in a couple minutes, but when you start stacking like a pre-foreclosure that's vacant with an absentee out of state owner, there's stacks of motivation there where their motivation actually elevates, right? And so when you can stack lists like that, the motivation is just that much stronger. Now your list gets smaller, but that list to me is way, more advantageous to go after than just somebody the house is vacant, So when you start stacking these, that's where, you can get a lot of good deals. But these are the types of motivations that we're looking for. And then how do we reach out to them? So something that you have to understand is there's outbound marketing and then there's inbound marketing. So phone call, I hate the term cold calling because it turns agents off to think that they have to cold call, but phone calls, right? And I'm going to talk about that in 2 seconds, but postcards and mailers. Now I know Tracy, you're doing this a little bit. Postcards and mailers are like, it's a slow burn. The response rate on postcards is like 1%. So, to generate meaningful conversations, like you have to send a lot of them for a long period of time. It takes 6 to 9 to 12 months before you get a response. And the stats show it's about 1% that you actually get in touch with them. Text marketing is obviously way faster to the lead. Email marketing is a tier below because emails, they get, jumbled and junked and it's hard to get through an email. And social media marketing. So what I'm talking about is like when you're making a phone call, like you can call, this is the simplest call to make. Hey, Joe Seller, just looking at 123 ABC Street. Are you interested in getting a cash offer for that property? That's it. No, I'm not. Okay. Thanks for your time. Or keep my number if you ever want a cash offer. We have institutional cash buyers behind us that will buy these homes and we can physically get them a legit guaranteed cash offer. Think Mark Spain Real Estate. We have the same companies behind us that buy their houses. So it's a great lead in to, hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Let me just mute that. So it's a great lead in to break the ice. It's not, you're trying to build rapport right away or, go through all these things. It's, hey, are you looking for a cash offer? Or, hey, even if you don't want to mention the property, you definitely don't want to mention any of the hardships that they're facing because the defenses go up real quick. So you don't mention anything about the pre-foreclosure or anything about, that they're behind on taxes or anything. It's, hey, we're looking to buy, we're providing cash offers to your area, or do you have any property that you would like us to get you one on? That's it. And so that's all outbound marketing, right? And then we have inbound marketing, which is much more lucrative and easier to deal with. Okay, so you have Google pay-per-click, which is more expensive. And then you have obviously radio TV. That's on a whole nother level if that's something you want to do. But Google pay-per-click, we ran a campaign last year for 6 months. We got 2 deals out of it. One of them was a flip that made 50 grand and another one that we're closing next month. That's fantastic. That will be, there's quite a bit of profit in that one. But, it took me 6 months of 6 grand a month. So it's 36 grand. And I'll make money eventually on it, but it took a long time, right? And so inbound marketing is way better in terms of somebody's raising their hand as you get a lead. Somebody's raising their hand saying, hey, I have a problem. Can you help? Right. And again, all we're doing is reaching out with cash offers like, hey, we can get you a cash offer. We word it as in we have institutional cash buyers behind us, but also we have a network of, 10,000 investors in our database that, if these cash offers don't work, we also, have this avenue also. And so you're giving somebody solutions, right? We're problem solvers. We're providing solutions. And that's just one of them, just starting with the cash offer. Okay. You don't like the cash offer amount. Well, then we have to list it. but you're layering on levels of solutions, right? And so you're more valuable than just your typical agent who just wants to, list it and slap a post in the yard and try to sell it on the MLS. Like, we're going to go actively try to sell it for you. All right, so that's direct to motivated seller marketing. Any questions on any of that? No? Okay, sound like somebody unmuted. All right, so how do you find those leads? So I want to talk about a few different ways. So, hello. All right, so you can use data aggregate companies like Deal Machine, PropStream, Batch Leads. They're these software companies that help you build these lists where you can go in and say, okay, Hillsborough County, I want pre-foreclosures, I want vacant homes, and it builds a list for you. Deal Machine, I put Deal Machine on here instead of the others because Deal Machine will actually skip trace.
No, just say put it on mute.
Deal Machine actually skip traces the properties for you. And so instead of like PropStream, they'll give you the list, but then you have to go skip trace it. And they offer the skip tracing through their site, obviously for like 12 cents a record or whatever it is. And so it becomes a little bit more expensive, but Deal Machine gives it to you automatically, which I love. And so like Deal Machine, I think my monthly is like 119 a month for that. PropStream is like 100, but then you have to skip trace stuff. So now it's more. So you can use these data aggregate companies to find these lists, right? And then you implement the outbound marketing, the phone calls, the text messages, the emails, or however you're gonna, the mailers, whatever you're gonna do. Then your outbound marketing happens, right? And so you're hunting, you're fishing for deals. Or you can hire a marketing company like Bolt Deals. That's the company that I used. I ran them for 5 or 6 months or whatever it was. Great company to work with. Good dude that owns it, Benjamin. And we got leads and we got a couple of deals out of it. It just took too long. There was too much capital going into this marketing channel without any return. And once I contracted on something in August and it was a flip, I knew I wasn't getting paid for 6 months. It was really hard to keep that marketing channel going, but it was fantastic. Like, they did a great job. They built out the landing page. They ran the Google ads. We got quite a bit of leads. 2 of them turned into deals. And, so that's another way to find these leads. The other way is you can buy PPL leads from a company like LeadZolo. So PPL is pay per lead. If you've ever followed RJ Bates on YouTube, if you don't, you should look him up. He's a nationwide wholesaler, and he does all of his seller calls. Well, he does a lot of his seller calls live, but he goes into LeadZolo and buys leads. And so you can either buy nationwide leads and wholesale nationwide, and those leads, like he would spend $2,000 and he would get, I think it was 40 leads. So I think it was $50 a lead. Or if you want to be more targeted to like Hillsborough, like our surrounding 6 counties or something, they're more expensive. They could be $200-$300 a lead. But these leads are people who have literally just filled out a form on a cash, give me a cash offer form, raising their hand saying, hey, I need to sell my house. And so those leads are obviously hot, and the landing page that they fill out is unbranded. So when RJ calls them, he says, hey, my name's RJ. I see that you just filled out a website, a page on, or a form on my website. Are you still looking to sell 123 ABC Street? Like, that's it. And that's the lead in, because they just did, or they just recently did. And so they're like, oh yeah, and he's like, oh, what do you want for it? Like, his thing is straight to price, which is fantastic. I love it, because you get out of all the, oh, so tell me what's going on and the rapport and this and that. And like, he wants to go to price right away and understand what they're looking to get for it. Because then he can start working them back off that price as he starts talking about the motivation. So 4 things that you're always looking for, right? When you're talking to a motivated seller: looking for price, you're looking for timing, how fast do they need to move? You're looking for motivation, what's the problem? Why are you looking to sell? And you're looking for condition. What's the condition of the property? Those 4 things is what you're trying to get on every motivated seller phone call. But he gets to it real quick, and he's very successful. He sold, he did like 50 deals in 50 states at one point in 50 days or something like that. But LeadZolo provides paper, like, yes, they cost something. But when I look back at saying, okay, I wanted to generate my own leads, I was paying for that campaign. We were paying the company $3,000 to manage it, and we were only doing $3,000 in ad spend. So for $3,000 in ad spend for 6 months, that was 18,000 that I spent. That we got maybe 20 leads. 2 of them turned into deals. Well, if you spend 18,000 with LeadZolo, you're getting every single lead that has just raised their hand saying, I need to sell my house. And so while it costs money up front, they're hot leads and they're people that are looking to sell. So just an idea. And so now let's talk about database marketing. So statistics show that your database, going back to your central command, your database, statistics show that your database should turn 7 to 10% into deals per year. So if you have 100 people in your database that you're consistently marketing to, that should turn 7 to 10 deals, right? So now growing that database to 1,000, right? Now you're cooking with gas. And so that I can't stress enough how important that database is, how important having that foundation built properly is. And it literally means everything in your business. If you don't have your database set up or using a CRM, like, you should do that. And then lead generation is the only thing that matters. Because if you don't have enough consistent lead flow, then you don't have closings. So those meaningful conversations have to be happening. All right. So obviously what I just said, create your database, put your sphere of influence, your investors, your wholesalers, your builders, your motivated sellers, etc. Everybody you know. And then you should be touching every contact 30 to 35 times per year, except for motivated sellers. Motivated sellers, escalated touches. You're touching them every other day for the first couple of weeks, right? Because they are looking and they have filled out a form on 10 people's websites and they are, talking to other people. And so if you get a motivated seller lead at any point, you have to be on top of them. So it's not just a 30 to 30, it's a different drip campaign. It's a different campaign talking to them. But what you can do is a monthly e-newsletter, right? So a monthly e-newsletter to your database, monthly market updates. You can do that in between your e-news. So let's say your newsletter goes out on the 1st, your market updates go out on the 15th, right? You can do a quarterly call, a quarterly mailer. You can do a monthly voice note drop where you just do a voice drop. I don't know, on Apple, we have this little button that we push where we could record a voice note and then just text it to them. I assume Android has the same thing, but you can do a monthly voice note drop. Hey, it's Tracy, just checking in with you. Hope everything's going well. Didn't want to bother you because I know you're busy, but just checking in with you, whatever. You can create your own script for that. But that's another touch, right? And social media, like DMs, but also posting to your social media, which we're going to talk about next, also gets touches to your sphere of influence. Even if these people aren't in your database, it still touches. It still touches to your sphere. Does that make sense? So let's get into social media marketing. So I want to highly encourage you to be omnipresent on your socials, meaning you're everywhere all the time. This is free advertising. This is literally a way for you to be in front of your sphere all the time for free. I'm getting a little feedback. Is everybody on mute? Okay. So, but I want to challenge you to post, once a day at minimum. I know at our last meeting, we talked about you should be posting 5 times a day. I still stand behind that, but at least one. So I want to challenge you to post once a day. And I just wanted to give you some different ideas. I will tell you this. You can go into ChatGPT and say, hey, my name is George. I'm a realtor. This is what I focus on, investment real estate. I'm looking, this is my avatar I'm going after. I'm going after investors, or I'm going after listings, or whatever it is. And I need a content calendar for social media. I want you to give me, all of the, give me 30 days of posts and use emojis and this and that. And whatever you put that prompt in the ChatGPT, and it will pump you out a 30-day calendar. And you're copying and pasting for the most part, right? So there's no excuse really not to do it. Now, should you do more video than just text? Yeah, video is very powerful. Doing videos on social media, very powerful. But so here's just some things that you can potentially, post about. So investment strategies. So talking about the BRRRR method. What is it? How does it work? How is it really awesome for investors to be able to buy real estate, pull your capital back out, cash flow, and then continue to do it again and over and over and over, and how powerful that strategy is. Short-term rentals. That's a big thing down here in Florida, right? So Andrew, our agent, manages 50 or 60 of them or whatever, and his sole focus is working with short-term rental investors from across the country. Very powerful. But you could post about how that works, what the numbers look like, all the things you have to think about, all the hidden fees that maybe an investor doesn't think about in short-term rentals, whatever, long-term rentals, running numbers, or how they work or how they cash flow, or whatever, fix and flips, right? So any investment strategy that is available, you can talk about. You can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, create me a post about the bird method, blah, blah, blah. Go post it. Pretty simple. Video walkthroughs. Go look at a vacant house. Any house that's vacant that you look on the MLS, just schedule a showing and go walk through it and do a video walkthrough. Like, hey, here's this. It could be retail. You could do that with rehabs also, like dilapidated houses. Go do a walkthrough. Say, hey, this property's in Tampa. Looks like it might be a good deal. Reach out to me if you're looking for it. New construction, that's a big one. I'm gonna show you here in a second. Sorry, jumping ahead. Our brokerages listings, right? A lot of times we don't have a ton of listings because a lot of stuff we do is off market. But for example, right now I have a condo on the water in Inglewood that you can share. I have a condo on Bayshore Boulevard on the water that you can share. I have a $2 million property out in St. Pete that's listed that you can share. So like anything, for me anyways, you can always share my listings. And I assume that we're all on the same page. We all want we want more exposure to any of our listings. So, share our brokerages listings, put them out there, go to these groups. Oh man, I should show you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna jump off topic here. I want to show you guys something. So I started creating a database of Facebook groups. Look at all these Facebook groups. Moving between Ohio and Florida, moving to California and Florida, moving from Canada to Florida, Chicago to Florida, on and on and on, moving to Florida, right? So all these groups. And now check this out. I found this. So obviously, if we want to share listings or, post in these groups, I found this plugin or extension that's called Facebook Group Bulk Poster. So I'm going to probably today, hopefully, I'm going to create this list where all you do is download, you export these links. I upload it, I create a list, I create the post, and it will post that post to every single group all at once. So I don't have to go and share it and waste a ton of time doing it. And this is a free trial. There's 6 posts. I think it's $10 a month after your first 6 posts. It's nothing to be able to do that. But constantly posting in these groups and sharing, like you're just generating more exposure to your name and to listings. Like maybe you find a buyer for one of these listings, like you have the ability to do that. All right. Let's see here. Okay. So reviews, posting your reviews. You could post 1 review a week. Like you should create a calendar on Thursday. I'm going to post a review that I've got 3 years ago. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Again, grab your cash offer. You post about providing cash offers, like trying to go after motivated sellers. And here's a big one, starting a YouTube channel. This was really interesting. I followed this guy a long time ago. This guy, and maybe you guys have seen him. This guy created this Living in Dallas YouTube channel. And he's only posted 166 videos, which isn't in the grand scheme of things a ton, but he's generated 57,000 subscribers. And all he does is talk about, don't move here in Texas, hot areas, top rated schools. He does a lot of how he started was doing new construction video walkthroughs. So he would start saying, hey, here's this new community. Here's the model. He would do a video walkthrough of it. And he started just posting it, and it started generating a lot of, YouTube is the second largest search engine on the internet. And so when people are going to search, top rated schools to live next to in Dallas, these videos can show up, right? And obviously they did, because it started, a fire under him to grow this real big. And it's just, the Living in Dallas, Texas team is the best relocation team in the Dallas area. Here's my number, we're a team. They're with EXP. And so they built this YouTube channel, and that's pretty much all he does now. All he does is do videos. Like, he is the content maker, and they have, agents underneath them. And as the leads come in, they just funnel them out to their buyer agents or listing agents. And so his job has become, I create videos. That's what I do for a living. So there's that. I think we're almost done. All right. So in closing, lead generation literally is the lifeblood of your business. It's really important to track your KPIs, to understand meaningful conversations is everything. Your business, I know, I'll give Fabian a lot of credit for this, man. That dude is on the phone all the time, talking to people all the time, till, like he was saying in the beginning, till midnight or 1 o'clock. Like, he generates a lot of meaningful conversations. He is a networker. He's a grinder. I love it. But meaningful conversation is literally the most important KPI that you can have in this business. And then everything falls, behind that or dominoes after that. But also, you have to track that. You have to track all of that. You have to track your KPIs, track your meaningful conversations, your appointments, your contracts, your closings. And then you understand what your business looks like. How many conversations does it take to get a contract? And so set up your foundation properly and get to work having X amount of meaningful conversations. Like, I don't know how many it's going to take for you, or how many it does take for you to get a contract, and if you're not tracking it, you don't know either. And so it's really important to start, to put that foundation in place and to start tracking things. And if if you want to make a couple $100,000, like, you have to be serious about doing it.
Hey, James, it's
Yes, sir.
Fabian. Great information. I think everybody should utilize it. It's, as you said, these are the techniques that create successful, entrepreneurs, realtors, business individuals. It's just classic 101, information. It's the grassroots of being successful.
Hi.
Yay, there she is. Hi, Trisha.
How's it going?
Great. Nice to see you. What's that?
Great class today.
Oh, thank you.